On the 88th floor of the gleaming glass tower known as Nova Aeronautics, sunlight reflected off the polished marble floors, creating a space both luxurious and cold. This was the headquarters of the world's leading aerospace technology conglomerate, ruled with an iron hand and a genius mind by Eleanor Vos, a 52-year-old billionaire. Eleanor wasn't just a businesswoman. She was a scientist, an inventor who brought humanity closer to the stars with groundbreaking space engines. But today, no one in the tower spoke of technology or the cosmos. They spoke of death. Sophia Vos, Eleanor's only daughter, had passed away 3 days ago. At 24, Sophia was the jewel of the Vos family. With golden hair, sharp blue eyes, and a warm smile rare for someone of her icy lineage, she was seen as the ideal successor to the Nova Empire. She graduated early from MIT, spoke 3 languages fluently, and had been working in her mother's secret lab since she was 20. Now, she was reduced to a name whispered with regret among employees. No one knew exactly what happened. Nova's official statement was brief. Sophia Vos passed away at her home due to health reasons. The family requests privacy during this time. No public funeral, no grand memorial. A death oddly quiet for someone who had once been the media's darling. In Eleanor's vast office, she sat motionless in her black leather chair, gray eyes staring at the city skyline. Before her was a small photo, Sophia in a lab uniform, beaming beside a space engine model. Eleanor didn't cry. She never cried in front of anyone. But her hand, usually steady as steel, trembled as it touched the frame. Outside, the world buzzed with questions. Why would a healthy young woman like Sophia die suddenly? Why no details? And why would Eleanor Vos, known for absolute control, let everything slip into silence? A week after Sophia's death, tabloids began spinning theories. Sophia Vos took her own life under mother's pressure, screamed one headline. Nova's golden girl overdosed, suggested another. No evidence, just wild guesses fueled by public curiosity. At Nova, no one dared speak. Employees signed new confidentiality agreements, warned of severe legal consequences for leaks. But not everyone stayed silent. In a small cafe a few blocks from Nova's headquarters, Daniel Kim, a former engineer from Sophia's lab, met an old friend, clutching his coffee cup to steady his nerves. Daniel had quit 6 months ago after a difference of opinion with superiors. Now, he was one of the few willing to hint at Nova's shadows. Sophia wasn't the type to kill herself, Daniel whispered, voice shaky. She was stronger than anyone I knew. But she changed in her last months. She was irritable, anxious, like she was carrying something heavy. What kind of burden? His friend asked, leaning forward. Daniel hesitated, glancing around. I don't know exactly, but I heard her argue with her mom a few times. Once, she shouted something about stopping the project. I don't know which one, but it wasn't anything public. Daniel's words spread through unofficial channels. Online tech forums buzzed with speculation that Sophia was tied to a massive Nova secret, perhaps a new space engine or even a space weapon. But no proof emerged. Meanwhile, in the Vos family's isolated white mansion on a hill, Eleanor locked herself in her study. Her desk was littered with encrypted files, complex numbers, and charts only she understood. She knew the truth, but she wasn't ready to face it, not with the world, nor with herself. On the 28th day after Sophia's death, a shockwave hit. An anonymous social media account posted 3 pages allegedly from Sophia's diary. The handwritten, scribbled words, photographed from a black notebook, went viral instantly. No one knew who leaked them, but the content stunned everyone. October 12th. Mom forced me into the lab again today. I don't want to do this anymore. It feels wrong. If they knew the truth about what we're testing, they'd never forgive us. But Mom says it's the future, our legacy. I'm not sure I believe that anymore. October 15th, I saw the results. It's more dangerous than I thought. I tried telling Mom, but she wouldn't listen. She called me weak, said I wasn't worthy of being her daughter if I couldn't push forward. I'm scared, not for me, but for what happens if it fails. October 20th, I can't sleep. I hear noises in my head, like it's eating me from the inside. I need to do something. But if I fight back, Mom will never forgive me. I'm all she has. The post spread like wildfire. Within hours, millions had read and shared it. Handwriting experts on TV confirmed the script matched Sophia's known samples. But the biggest questions remained. Who leaked the diary? And what was the dangerous thing Sophia feared? At Nova, Eleanor called an emergency meeting with her legal and PR teams. She ordered them to trace the leak at all costs, but deep down, she knew it was futile. The truth was creeping out, no matter how hard she tried to bury it. Maya Torres, a freelance investigative journalist, didn't give up easily. With short black hair and piercing eyes, she'd spent a decade exposing corporate secrets. When Sophia's diary surfaced, Maya saw it as the story of her career. She didn't buy Nova's vague explanations, and she was determined to uncover the truth. Maya started by tracking down Daniel Kim. After days of persuasion, he agreed to meet her in an abandoned warehouse outside town. He brought a small USB drive containing data he'd copied from Nova before quitting. "I'm not sure it'll help," he said, voice tense. "But it's all I have from Sophia's project." The USB held complex chemical charts and notes about a compound codenamed Ether-X. Maya wasn't a chemist, but she knew it wasn't for regular engines. She contacted an old friend, Dr. Liam Carter, a chemist who'd worked for the government. When Liam reviewed the data, his face paled. "It's a neurotoxin," he said, voice trembling. "Not a common one. It could damage the brain in minutes if exposed directly. But why would Nova create this?" A chill ran down Maya's spine. She pieced it together. Sophia's diary, her behavioral changes, her sudden death. Had Sophia been exposed to Ether-X accidentally, or intentionally? In Nova's secret basement, a thick steel door led to an area few could access. This was where Eleanor and her elite team developed classified projects, hidden from public reports. Known as the Core, it was where Sophia had been a key player. Eleanor stood before a large screen, replaying surveillance footage from the night Sophia died. In the video, Sophia, in a full hazmat suit, checked a vial of pale blue liquid, Ether-X. Suddenly, she paused, her hand trembling. A drop fell onto her glove, and though the next moments were unclear, she collapsed, motionless. Eleanor stopped the video, her eyes red but tearless. She'd watched it dozens of times, searching for another answer. But the truth didn't change. Sophia died from Ether-X, a compound Eleanor created to boost space engine performance. It was her greatest invention and her deadliest mistake. She knew she couldn't hide it forever. Maya Torres was closing in, and Sophia's diary had cracked the wall of protection she'd built. Eleanor had to decide, keep concealing, or face the world and admit her guilt. Maya hadn't slept since Liam explained Ether-X. Her mind raced. Why would an aerospace company develop a neurotoxin? Was Sophia the only victim? She sat in her small apartment, laptop light illuminating her tired face, surrounded by old Nova reports, employee files, and Eleanor's public speeches. In an interview 3 years ago, Eleanor had said, "We're not just building engines to reach space. We're creating things that change how humanity exists." Maya once thought it was corporate fluff. Now, she wasn't sure. She dug into Daniel's data, hunting for more clues about Sophia's secret project. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Stop if you want to live. They're watching." Her heart pounded. Who sent this? Nova? An insider protecting her? She peered out the window at the dim streetlights. Was she being watched? At the Voss mansion, Eleanor received a report from her private security. "We've tracked Maya Torres digging into old data," a man in a black suit said flatly. "She's contacted Liam Carter and seems to know about Ether-X." Eleanor gripped her chair, her face emotionless. "Keep her in check," she ordered. "But don't act yet. I need time." Eleanor knew Maya wasn't her only threat. The truth about Ether-X wasn't just hers or Sophia's. Others, former engineers, ex-partners she'd sidelined, might be waiting to strike. Then she remembered Victor Hensley, Nova's former chief scientist, who'd left in bitterness 2 years ago. He'd opposed Ether-X, calling it an uncontrollable monster. Was he behind the diary leak? Victor Hensley lived reclusively in a small house on the outskirts, far from the city's glare. At 65, he looked older than his Nova days, with a scruffy white beard and cloudy eyes from sleepless nights. Once a key mind behind Nova's early breakthroughs, he'd faded into obscurity after leaving. But he held a secret, a full copy of the Ether-X project files, complete with his personal warnings to Eleanor. When Maya arrived at his doorstep, she wasn't sure he'd cooperate. But she had no other leads. She knocked, and after a tense silence, a gruff voice answered, "Who's there?" Maya introduced herself, mentioning Sophia's death. The door creaked open, revealing Victor's wary face. "I don't want anything to do with Nova anymore," he said curtly. But when Maya mentioned Ether X, his expression shifted. He let her in, leading her to a room packed with books and old papers. On the table was a small metal box containing documents he'd kept for 2 years. "Ether X isn't a toy," Victor said, pulling out a yellowed stack. "It was meant to boost space fuel efficiency, but Eleanor went too far. She wanted to test it on humans, to see if it could enhance astronaut reflexes in harsh conditions. I warned her it'd kill people, but she didn't listen." Maya's blood ran cold. "You mean Sophia might have been her test subject?" Victor nodded slowly. "I don't have direct proof. But if that diary's real, Sophia knew the truth and tried to stop it." Before leaving, Victor handed Maya another USB. "This is everything I've got. If you're taking on Eleanor, be careful. She's not just a billionaire, she's a predator." At Nova, tension thickened. Senior staff were ordered to scrub all EtherX data, erasing any trail to the truth. But not everyone obeyed blindly. Clara Nguyen, Eleanor's personal assistant for a decade, grew uneasy. The only person besides Sophia whom Eleanor fully trusted, Clara had witnessed their arguments and heard Eleanor's harsh words when Sophia opposed the project. One evening, while organizing files in Eleanor's office, Clara stumbled on a hidden audio file on the computer. Curiosity piqued, she played it. Sophia's voice trembled but resolute. "Mom, I can't keep pretending this is right. EtherX will kill people. I've seen what it did to the lab rats. If you don't stop, I'll tell everyone." Eleanor's reply was chilling. "You don't understand, Sophia. This is our future. If you can't stand with me, you're not worthy of being my daughter." Clara stopped the file, hands shaking. Sophia's death wasn't an accident. Something worse had happened. But she didn't know what to do. Betraying Eleanor meant losing everything. Her job, her safety, maybe her life. Staying silent meant her conscience would never rest. Meanwhile, Eleanor got word from security. Maya had met Victor Hensley. She knew Victor held damning evidence. She ordered surveillance on both, but for the first time, fear crept into her heart. Eleanor Voss was losing control. Maya returned home with Victor's USB, but didn't get far. As she plugged it into her computer, her apartment lights flickered and died. A faint click came from the door, someone picking the lock. Heart racing, Maya yanked the USB out and stuffed it into her pocket. Before she could run, 3 men in black stepped in, faces masked. "Miss Torres, hand over the data, and we'll leave you be," one said, voice low and menacing. Maya backed away, steadying her tone. "I don't have anything." "They didn't buy it." One lunged, but Maya grabbed a table lamp and smashed it into his head. He yelped, giving her a chance to bolt through the back door. She raced down the fire escape, breath ragged, and hid in a dark alley until their footsteps faded. At the Voss mansion, Eleanor sat alone in darkness. Security reported Maya's escape. Time was running out. She opened a drawer, pulling out a small box with the last vial of EtherX. She stared at it, recalling the night Sophia fell in the core. It wasn't an accident. Sophia had tried to destroy the sample, but didn't know one drop was lethal. Eleanor had hidden the truth, not just for her reputation, but because she couldn't face that she'd indirectly killed her daughter. The next morning, Maya appeared on an indie news channel, microphone in hand, eyes resolute. She revealed what she knew. EtherX was a deadly toxin. Sophia likely died from it, and Eleanor Voss covered it up. She held back the full evidence. The USB was safe, but her words ignited a firestorm. Hundreds protested outside Nova's headquarters, demanding answers. The company's stock plummeted. Government investigators stepped in. Meanwhile, Clara, after a night of inner turmoil, anonymously emailed Sophia's audio file to Maya. At Nova, Eleanor called an impromptu press conference. She stepped to the podium, pale but composed. "I'll tell the truth," she began evenly. "Sophia died in an accident tied to our research. But she wasn't a victim. She chose to participate because she believed in my vision." The crowd fell silent, stunned. Eleanor looked into the cameras. "She was my daughter, and she sacrificed herself for humanity's future." No one knew if it was truth or her final lie. Watching on a screen, Maya clutched the USB. The story wasn't over. Eleanor's press conference didn't quell the storm, it worsened it. Hashtag Justice for Sophia trended globally. People called it a half-hearted confession, a desperate bid to save Nova's image. For Maya, it was a challenge. Eleanor claimed Sophia chose to participate. But was that true? Sophia's diary, Victor's warnings, and Clara's audio all contradicted her. Hiding in a small hotel after the attack, Maya replayed Clara's file. "If you don't stop, I'll tell everyone." It wasn't the voice of a willing martyr, but of someone desperate, cornered. She opened Victor's USB, finding a 2-year-old internal report. EtherX risks death on direct exposure. Recommend cancellation or simulation testing. Victor's signature was below, with a note. Eleanor refused. She wanted faster results. Maya clenched her fists. This was proof, not just of Sophia's death, but of Eleanor's recklessness. She called Liam Carter. "I need you to confirm how fast EtherX kills," she said. Liam sighed. "Maya, this'll drag me into your mess. But fine, give me 2 days." At Nova, Eleanor faced unprecedented pressure. The board demanded her resignation, investors pulled out, and police searched the core. Alone in her office, she watched blank surveillance screens. Security reported Clara's disappearance. Eleanor gritted her teeth. Clara had betrayed her. Clara didn't vanish without reason. After sending the audio, she drove all night to a small town hundreds of miles away, checking into a rundown motel with cash and turning off her phone. She knew Nova would hunt her, and she wasn't sure she could hide forever. But guilt drove her. She'd been silent too long. In her suitcase was a hard drive with copied files from the core, taken in Sophia's final months as a precaution. Now, it was her only weapon. She opened her laptop, finding a video of Sophia in the lab days before her death. Sophia, in a hazmat suit, faced the camera. "If anyone sees this, know I didn't want this. I just wanted Mom to stop. I tried to destroy it, but I wasn't fast enough." The video cut off abruptly. Clara buried her face in her hands, tears streaming. She recalled Sophia's last words to her. "Clara, if anything happens to me, do the right thing." She'd thought it was stress talking. Now she knew Sophia sensed her fate. She messaged Maya via an encrypted app. "I have Sophia's final video. Meet me at the old spot in 48 hours. She didn't dare say more, fearing trackers. If Maya released this, it'd ruin Eleanor. 2 days later, Maya and Clara met in the abandoned warehouse where Maya had met Daniel. The air was cold, reeking of rust from old containers. Maya arrived alone with Victor's USB and a recorder. Clara followed, eyes red, clutching her hard drive. "You sure?" Maya asked quietly. "If we do this, there's no turning back." Clara nodded. "I owe Sophia. I didn't protect her when I could." Clara plugged in the drive, playing Sophia's video. Maya's breath caught at Sophia's words. "I tried to destroy it, but I wasn't fast enough." This wasn't voluntary sacrifice. Sophia had fought back and lost. "She lied," Maya whispered. "Eleanor said Sophia chose this, but she didn't." Clara nodded. "Eleanor forced her. I heard them argue for weeks. Sophia wanted to go public, but Eleanor threatened to disown her." Maya copied the video, then asked, "Anything else?" Clara pulled out handwritten notes from Eleanor about EtherX. One line chilled Maya. "Human testing is the final step. Sophia will prove its worth." Undeniable proof Eleanor endangered her daughter. Before leaving, Clara grabbed Maya's hand. "Be careful. Eleanor won't let us off easy." Maya smiled faintly. "I'm used to being hunted." Sophia's video spread like wildfire. Maya sent it to a major newspaper with Victor's files and Eleanor's notes from Clara. Within hours, it hit every channel and platform. Sophia's desperate voice and fearful eyes pierced millions. Outrage erupted. Protests outside Nova turned violent, requiring police intervention. At the Voss mansion, Eleanor watched the news in silence. No security, no assistance remained. Clara was gone, and her loyalists had abandoned her. She held the last EtherX vial, fingers tracing the cold glass. She remembered Sophia collapsing in the core. She'd screamed, rushed to hold her, but it was too late. She hadn't wanted Sophia to die. She'd wanted her to prove EtherX worked. She'd been wrong. Police knocked, arrest warrant in hand. Eleanor didn't resist. As they drove her away, she saw the furious crowd through the window. She'd lost everything, not just her empire, but Sophia's memory, the only thing that made her human. Maya stood amid the protesters, cameras on her. "This isn't just Sophia's story," she said firmly. "It's a warning about the cost of unchecked ambition." Eleanor's trial began a week later. Charged with manslaughter, evidence tampering, and corporate abuse, her lawyers argued Sophia volunteered, but the video crushed their defense. The public and jury didn't forgive. Sentenced to 20 years, Eleanor's fall was complete, a bitter end for a once iconic figure. Nova collapsed soon after. Projects were canceled, assets liquidated to compensate riot victims. The core was sealed, and EtherX became a taboo term in aerospace. Maya published her book on the case, a bestseller, but felt no triumph. She visited Sophia's grave often, leaving a white flower on the stone inscribed, "Sophia Voss, she tried to change the world." Clara returned to a quiet life, working in a small bookstore. She never spoke of Nova again, but prayed nightly for Sophia's forgiveness. Eleanor, in prison, stayed silent. She spent hours staring out a tiny window at the sky she'd once dreamed of conquering, now a reminder of all she'd lost. A year after the trial, the city where Nova once shone felt subdued. The glass tower stood empty, abandoned after auctions. Ex-employees scattered, some switched fields, others haunted by Nova's final days. But Sophia's story endured. Maya became a known name in investigative journalism. Her book, Light Beneath the Shadows, dissected ambition and ethics in tech. She spoke at universities, recounting her journey with calm sadness. "Sophia didn't die for nothing," she'd say. "She forced us to face progress's dark side." But Maya didn't bask in fame. Nightmares plagued her. The attack, Sophia's voice, Eleanor's cold stare. Had she done enough to save Sophia sooner? Cleaning her desk one day, she found Victor's USB. Plugging it in, she noticed an overlooked note about Phase 2 of EtherX, unexplained. She called Liam, now at a private lab. "Ever hear of Phase 2? Liam paused. "Not sure. If it exists, Eleanor hid it even from her team. Want me to dig?" Maya nodded over the phone. "Please. I need to know if it's truly over." Victor Hensley avoided the trial and media, living quietly in his small home. Nova's memories lingered. One evening, a knock startled him. Opening the door, he saw Maya, eyes determined. "I need to talk about Phase 2, she said. Victor frowned, but wasn't surprised. He led her to his book-filled room, retrieving a wooden box. Inside were thin files labeled Phase 2 Bioaugmentation. He handed them to her. This was Eleanor's next step. Not just faster engines, stronger humans. Maya skimmed the documents. They outlined using EtherX to enhance astronaut reflexes and endurance, creating superhumans for space missions. Victor's notes showed an 80% fatality rate in simulations. Eleanor wanted Sophia to test it after Phase 1 succeeded, he said. "I left before she could start." Maya shivered. But if Phase 1 killed Sophia, why didn't she stop? Victor shrugged. Her ambition outweighed her grief. Or she didn't believe EtherX killed Sophia. She always deluded herself. Maya left with the files, unsure if she'd reignite the scandal. She needed time to decide. In federal prison, Eleanor lived a stark contrast to her past. In a gray uniform, her once perfect hair now white and tangled, she spoke to no one and refused visitors, except once, when Clara came. Clara faced her through glass, hands clasped. "Why did you do it to her?" she asked, voice breaking. Eleanor met her gaze, eyes weary. "I didn't want her to die," she said slowly. "I wanted her stronger. I thought EtherX could do that." Clara shook her head. "You knew it was dangerous. Sophia begged you to stop." Eleanor looked down, vulnerable for once. "I didn't listen. I thought she'd push through, like I always did. I was wrong." The talk lasted under 10 minutes, leaving Clara hollow. Leaving the prison, she called Maya. Eleanor admitted she forced Sophia, she said. But she doesn't regret EtherX. She still thinks it's the future. Maya wasn't shocked. Eleanor's stubbornness was clear. But the confession fueled her resolve. She'd reveal Phase 2, not to punish Eleanor more, but to prevent others from repeating her mistakes. Maya held a press conference downtown, where she'd once stood amid protesters. She unveiled Phase 2, explaining Eleanor's mad plan and its risks. "This isn't just Sophia's story," she said, voice ringing. It's a warning that technology can't cross ethical lines without cost. The response was chaotic. Some praised Maya, others accused her of exploiting the tale. Scientists debated bioaugmentation, and the government reopened Nova's research legacy. Remaining EtherX samples from the core were seized and destroyed under global watch. In prison, Eleanor watched on a small TV, silent. When Sophia's old photo flashed, smiling by an engine model, a tear rolled down her cheek, quickly gone. Clara, at her bookstore, turned off the radio, unwilling to hear more. She'd done all she could for Sophia. Now, she wanted to forget. 2 years after Sophia's death, the world moved on. Nova was a memory, a textbook lesson on unchecked ambition's fall. Maya quit journalism, moving to a seaside town. She stopped writing and appearing on TV. Occasionally, she got letters from Light Beneath the Shadows readers, thanking her for inspiration. She kept them in a wooden box, rarely opened. Victor died peacefully one winter morning, leaving his home and files to a local library. He never knew his EtherX work inspired safer fuel research. Clara stayed at her bookstore, living simply. She never returned to the city or spoke of Nova. Each year on Sophia's death anniversary, she left a white flower at her doorstep, whispering an unanswered apology. Eleanor died in prison in her 5th year from a stroke. She left no will, no last words. Her quiet funeral drew a few ex-Nova staff. Her headstone read simply, Eleanor Voss, dreamer of the stars. On the hill where Sophia rested, wind rustled green grass. Her stone stood firm. Sophia Voss, she tried to change the world. Nova's once brilliant light was gone, but Sophia's story shone on, unforgettable to those who knew it.